The TOS TV network mobile app is now available. You can now catch up on our breaking news, stream our programs live, watch out for the latest update on sport and politics as they unfold. You can also get notifications for our upcoming programs and events. All these on our TOS TV network mobile app, available on Apple Store and Google Play Store. TOS TV News from Africa by Africans.
In my program, I bring the studio to the street and interact with everyday Nigerians, taking their worries, their concerns, their questions directly to the ears of their leaders. Senate President Bukola Saraki, Distinguished Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, His Excellency Nyesom Wike, Governor Okezie Victor Ikpeazu, the Executive Governor of Benue State, Samuel Orta. We interrogate the policies and objectives of key stakeholders in the political and development sector to ensure that the impact trickles down to the poorest of the poor in our society.
These people where they have, most of them, their brain don't work.
But do you agree that there were accusations that you made during the campaign that were not necessarily founded?
Me?
Yes.
So what do they call the incident of October 2006?
No impeachment. They call it rascality.
Rascality. My goal is to dig deep and find the truth, then give meaning, understanding, and solution to it.
All across the nations, all around the world, women are longing to be free, no longer in the shadows, caused to stay behind, but side by side in true equality. So sing a song for women everywhere.
Women have got what it takes to lead.
If you build a woman, you are building a nation.
In Nigeria, have 109 senators and only 7 are women.
She understands her moves and her maneuvers.
As a nation, our job is to create an environment for all our women to prosper.
We'll be happy to see all marginalized and disadvantaged segments of society participate fully in the processes.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode of the Osasu Show. Today we'll bring you the highlight of the event, the Women National Dialogue with the INEC Chairman, holding here in Abuja at the Sheraton Hotels. Don't go anywhere and we'll be right back on the Osasu Show.
Where men lay down their weapons and learn to love and share, and people work to bring an end to war. Let's sing our song.
Today's event is an outreach and partnership event with INEC partnering with the European Centre for Electoral Support.
I want to assure you that INEC remains an equal opportunities employer, irrespective of gender and disability, and will continue to remain so. And secondly, to appreciate the role of women in a number of ways, notably in mobilizing citizens to go and register. Because you can't vote unless you are registered. Over a period of 16 months, from the 17th of April 2017 until the 31st of August 2018, we were able to register over 14 million new voters. If you add this to the number of registered voters before the 2015 general elections, you'll have a register of voters of 84,004,084 voters.
Women's political participation is a fundamental prerequisite for gender equality and genuine democracy. It facilitates women's direct engagement in public decision-making, and it is a means of ensuring better accountability to women.
There were very different times when I was here in 2003, 2007. It's a different INEC, it's an inclusive INEC, it's a transparent INEC, and it's a very forward-looking INEC. So thank you very much for leadership you provide to Nigeria. Thank you, INEC, to be cooperating with us. It was a very busy journey, but I think it will pay off next week.
There's this rise in female activism. More women are female activists now, all pressing for inclusion of women in the electoral process. That is not all. The cultural restrictions of women participation in elections is gradually withering away. And like the Honorable Chairman has said, we are going to give you a free, fair, credible, and inclusive election.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, National Commissioners. My name is Osasu, the producer of that documentary. But I'll put my producer hat aside and bring out my journalist hat. So the Court of Appeal recently made a ruling that in Rivers State, the All Progressive Congress can produce a governorship candidate. Does this mean that the Rivers State elections will be postponed for INEC to print out fresh ballot papers? That's number one. Or is the election still going to hold on February 16th for the Presidential and National Assembly and Gubernatorial and State House of Assembly on the 2nd of March? That's first question. The second question, the President rejected the electoral bill. Therefore, no electronic voting, no electronic transmission, and no electronic collation of votes. Is there, however, going to be any electronic transmission or collation done internally in INEC? And very lastly, I found out that the returning officers and the collation officers are going to be done centrally in this elections. Previously, it was done with the help of the state resident electoral commissioners, if I'm correct. So please correct me on that. Can you tell me why you're doing this? And we have over 120,000 polling units. How are you going to ensure that you have enough ad hoc staff to conduct these elections? Thank you very much.
Osasu, Court of Appeal ruling. Will elections be postponed? You know, we have been asked this question over and over again. No election is going to be postponed. We'll conduct elections as and when due. We heard about the judgment of the Court of Appeal in respect of Rivers. And May will bear me out that we are waiting for the full judgment to understand what consequential action we need to take. Have we been served, Commissioner May? Have we been served? So we need to now study the judgment to know exactly what maintaining status quo or staying execution of the judgment of the lower courts by appeal court mean. But we are committed to ensuring that no election is postponed. And once we study it and the consequential order is for us to include any party that we left out by previous court order, and if that is coming from a superior court, we'll activate our contingency plans to ensure that we conduct elections as and when due and as scheduled. We don't envisage postponing any election at all.
I'm Abiadu Iset, a young female politician. I'll be speaking on behalf of the young female politicians. So knowing fully well that women, especially the young female politicians, are being marginalized in different sectors in politics, And you said, there are so many cases that have arisen due to the primary elections. How are you making sure that, our mandate is not taken away from us when we follow through the same process in justice? And also, after the post-election, what is the fate of young women who are aspiring in smaller parties to get their mandate if truly they won the election, so that they are not frustrated throughout the process of, the filing of, issues with the post-elections, just to ensure that our mandate is not taken away from us?
Let me say that arising from the conduct of congresses and primaries by political parties for the 2019 general elections, the congresses and primaries held in 2018, we have been dragged to court 639 times so far on the conduct of primaries alone. 639 times as of 10 days ago. And then we have also received requests for certified true copies of documents, 584 such requests, and 186 protests and petitions over the conduct of congresses and primaries of political parties. We are joined in each of these cases. There will be representation of the Commission in court. Will always do what is right. So irrespective of the number of cases that we have in court, we'll continue to uphold the truth. But at the end of the day, once the courts make pronouncement, we are also duty-bound under the Constitution to obey the pronouncement of courts. All persons and authorities in the Federation of Nigeria are required to obey judgments of courts. So we'll continue to obey judgments of lower courts until they are set aside by superior courts. And once the judgment is from the Supreme Court, that is the end of the road for litigations.
And I'd like to ask, sir, INEC has been defined here as the umpire of umpires. And when one of the representatives, one of the persons that spoke, she mentioned that funding is a problem for women, is a huge challenge for women that want to participate in politics. Is there any way as an umpire that the political parties would create some kind of, I don't know what it is, leverages for women that truly would want to serve, to be able to have that opportunity? Because from what we also saw from the documentary, it's obvious that, and the narrations that went with it, sometimes those that are truly qualified are not given the opportunity to serve. So how can women be given that opportunity, whether they are financially, buoyant or not? That's my question.
Well, this one is a tough question for us to answer, how women can be. The whole purpose of democracy is to ensure that the role of money is de-emphasized. People can contest and win elections not on account of their deep pockets. And that's why the Electoral Act provides caps on spending by political parties and spending by candidates. I think the more we de-emphasize money, the better for us. Let us emphasize competence rather than the deep pocket.
My question is, I don't know what INEC is doing to ensure that pregnant women and nursing mothers are not kept too long on queue, either to get accredited or to vote during election day.
It has been consistently the policy of the Commission. Pregnant women, nursing mothers, the elderly should always be given priority so they don't queue up on election day. So if you are pregnant, if you are a lactating mother, if you are an elderly person, on election day, you will have the privilege of just going to the head of the queue to be accredited and to vote. Nobody keeps this category of citizens on the queue. But we had a conference not too long ago involving electoral commissions from the Commonwealth, and there was a very interesting story from Kenya, that on election day, women were given priorities, particularly nursing mothers. So any woman carrying a baby was given a priority on the queue. But they discovered that many women were coming with one particular boy. So one particular boy, at a point, the presiding officer had to ask, this boy, how many mothers did he have? So, in that particular case, I think it was a boy for hire. You just hire the boy and then you go to the head of the queue. But the tall and short of the story is that we have always granted priority to nursing mothers, pregnant women, and the elderly, and also persons with disabilities.
To the INEC chairman, sir, how can the symbol of justice portrays a woman which democracy encourages to stay alive, yet these same women are not recognized in both national leadership in Nigeria? Now the question is this. Now, what practical gender balance have you designed so far to save our democracy before your tenure elapsed, since women are just the fulcrum of it?
The Commission has been encouraging gender balance in representation, particularly to use a small example. For the last 8 years or so, or for the last 6-7 years, successive secretaries of the Commission have been women. The immediate past secretary of the Commission is a woman, and the new secretary appointed by this Commission is also a woman. And the secretary is the head of the secretariat, responsible for all staff of the Commission. It's a very important responsibility indeed, and will continue to do so. And as you can see, there are several female commissioners, and in solidarity with women for this particular program, all the female national commissioners are here. So we'll continue to do whatever we can to encourage, in terms of recruitment of personnel of the Commission and other responsibilities, the greater participation of women.
A lot of women have complained. Sometimes they will remove their name wrongly, illegally, just for the selfish interests of the political party. And when they bring this issue to INEC, INEC will say is a party affair. So my question is this: does it mean that INEC doesn't have the power to right a wrong? Also, I run an NGO, and sometimes we write to INEC. I want to know how you people encourage young women, young girls in politics. Because sometimes as an NGO, we write to the office, INEC, but we don't get any reply. How do you work with NGOs to encourage young women?
The Commission has always said that once the names of candidates are submitted by political parties, our hands are tied by the provision of Section 31 of the Electoral Act. For the benefits of those who are not lawyers or who have not studied the law, Section 31 of the Electoral Act says that when a political party submits the names of candidates, and there is a process by which candidates emerge for election. When a political party submits the names of candidates to the Commission for Election, INEC has no powers to reject for any reason whatsoever. Here we are talking about candidates that emerged. There is a procedure under Section 87 of the Electoral Act by which candidates emerge. And the Commission has been intervening to say that if you don't observe the processes under Section 87, you can't have candidates whose names are submitted to the Commission for Election. And we have taken decisions in respect of 1 or 2 states. I'm sure you know at least one of them. So, but what do we do when a candidate has legitimately emerged from a process that we observed and the name is submitted? Or in between the state and Abuja, the name is substituted and the Commission submits. Consistently, we have said that the provision of Section 31 applies, in which case there is a remedy. We have our monitoring reports of those who emerge. So if you simply ask for the certified true copies of the reports and then go to court, the Commission will be joined naturally, and in court will defend that position. And the good thing about primaries is that they come under the category of pre-election matters. And even after the election, the courts can determine who the rightful candidate is, and then they can order the Commission to issue certificates of return to those who legitimately emerged from the primaries. After the 2015 general elections, we had cause to sign 23 certificates in obedience to court orders, in which the courts ordered the Commission to issue certificates of return to persons other than those declared winners after the elections. So just be ready. In case your political party substitutes your name, you have recourse to the commission, request for certified true copies, go to court. We'll follow you to court and we'll support your position. And if you're lucky, the court will now order the commission to do the needful. And I will be very happy to sign the certificate of return in response to court order. And then you go to the appropriate assembly, if it's assembly or executive position, which you have contested for.
So, Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank you for the reception you gave to us yesterday. And I want to tell our sisters that going through the INEC electoral guidelines, I've discovered that INEC is now very gender sensitive. I looked at the language of the guidelines and I realized that we now have he or she. And this is the first time we are feeling like we are part of the system. Because usually we used to have he, and we are not, seen as people. And I want to also say that the continuous accreditation and voting is also good for women. I'm looking at the gender perspective of the electoral guidelines now. So I want to thank INEC for doing that. I also want to thank you for the Braille tab you have also introduced. And so because INEC is now very inclusive, I want to tell you, Mr. Chairman, that you can count on Nigerian women to see that this election will go on free and fair. We'll do everything within our power to get our women out to participate, to vote. But what we are still saying is that we want the elections to be violence-free. We want to get the assurance that if we come out to vote, we are going to be protected. Thank you for what you've done so far, and I hope you will do more to accommodate more women. I am happy that we have our women commissioners here today, and I'm expecting that we'll have more women next time to take more positions in INEC. Thank you.
All around the world, people hurt and hungry children die. We'll sing right now for justice and development and hold the rights of all the people high. Sing a song for women now, everywhere. Let it ring around the world and never, never cease. Sing a song for women everywhere. Equality, development, and peace. Let's sing our song for women now, everywhere. Let it ring around the world and never, never cease. Sing a song for women everywhere. Equality, development, and peace. All across the nations, all around the world, women are longing to be free, no longer in the shadows, caused to stay behind, but side by side in true equality. So sing a song for women everywhere.
Women have got what it takes to lead.
If you build a woman, you are building a nation.
In Nigeria, we have 109 senators and only 7 are women.
She understands her moves and her maneuvers.
As a nation, our job is to create an environment for all our women to prosper.
We'll be happy to see all marginalized and disadvantaged segments of society participate fully in the processes.
The TOS TV network mobile app is now available. You can now catch up on our breaking news, stream our programs live, Watch out for the latest update on sport and politics as they unfold. You can also get notifications for our upcoming programs and events. All these on our TOS TV Network mobile app, available on Apple Store and Google Play Store. TOS TV News from Africa by Africans.